Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, ShedPro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. ShedPro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, ShedPro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
Hi, this is Greg French, CEO of Graceland Portable Buildings. In celebration of our 20th anniversary, we're excited to announce the launch of our Next Gen Dealer Program. The Next Gen program cements our commitment to the growth and solvency of the Shed Dealer Network. As part of the Next Gen program, Graceland dealers can earn commissions over 17%, and through our new Flex Commission program can earn over 20% on select inventory. But this is just the beginning. We provide marketing reimbursements, zip code level paid marketing, access to our training programs through Graceland University, where you can earn dealer certifications and grow your business. We provide free marketing materials and monthly trainings from our top performers. We have a dedicated leads department that provides leads and can even close them for you. That's right, you get the commission. We have an online commission sharing program. If a customer buys a building online, you get the commission. In addition to our Next Gen Dealer program, we're excited to announce our recent acquisition of ShedSync, a state-of-the-art software system that not only provides each dealer a website, but a complete marketing solution with a built-in dealer website, CRM, lead manager, and it allows automatic post creation and submission for Facebook posts, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, and a growing number of social media outlets. The investment in our dealers doesn't end there though. We have the best dealer support program in the nation, a regional support team that's dedicated to you. This includes a dedicated business operations manager, customer support team, regional sales manager, dispatcher, customer service department, and more. If you want to learn more about our Next Gen Dealer program, visit yesgraceland.com. We would love the opportunity to be your portable building supplier.
Welcome back to part 2 of this episode. If you missed it, go back and check out part 1 that aired on Wednesday.
And I'm basing some of this that I'm saying to you all because I kind of told Shannon, I'd rather just hit this from a business perspective if you are going to have me on the podcast, because this is not to scare people off. I'm telling you, I have sat down with multiple companies over the past 3 years that are for sale, that I've looked at their P&L, I've looked at their balance sheet, I've looked at rent-to-own companies and their P&L and their balance sheet. I'm not saying this to you from here's what Greg. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've seen the numbers.
Yeah.
And I've sat with a company that are going to get ready to file bankruptcy. And this is not easy. Running a shed company is very difficult because of the model being where you put inventory out at no cost. It is a high pressure environment. And when those bad behaviors, that whether intentional or unintentional, eventually they bleed to the return of wherever the money is coming from.
The return, the crux comes back to,
When it takes a long time, but when it does come back and they start to see an eroding profit margin, increased crime in this industry, organized crime in this industry, which I dealt with last week. So I'll tell you that it's rampant. Mm-hmm. But as those erode, more attention gets paid to, hey, why is nobody at this lot? Why is all this stuff aged? Is all the inventory that is supposed to be there? When you are operating somewhat smaller, you can bypass financial audits. You can bypass having inventory audits. You can bypass almost all the checks and balances. Yeah. I mean, I've looked at companies that do $10, $15 million of revenue that don't do any internal auditing, don't have a single person looking at anything that they are doing, and there's no checks and balances there. They don't have organized profit and loss statements. They don't have balance sheets in place. That's problematic. And so what will that lead to? That will lead to a shakeout period. And so that doesn't mean shed companies go away. There's going to be plenty of shed companies. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think
mergers and acquisitions.
There's going to be a consolidation period here. And I think we're in it, honestly, based on my behavior. I had mentioned to you that you had Richard on a couple of years ago, and he was going to go get into, start a shed company. And he was talking about, he had the opportunity, I think there was 6 or 7 shed companies, he said, that he had looked at buying. Mm-hmm. Well, why are they selling? Mm-hmm. Why are they selling? If market cap is going up and everything's just rosy and everything's great, why are you selling it? It's hard because there's more competition, there's more planning and zoning issues. Even in a company like Graceland, you used to be able to sell just by being in the town. Mm-hmm. If you were just there, people stop by and get a shed, word of mouth. You could grow, and you didn't have to have that great of closing skills. You didn't have to have a CRM in place to do follow-ups with those customers. You could just advertise in the newspapers that still existed. You could
and be on the highway.
Typically, just hire a good old boy, a good old girl that's knows how to sell. They're community driven. Yeah. They're involved with the local chamber, and all that's good. But now it's speed to lead. Now it's like, how quick can you get to them? What is your messaging? How quick can you get that building out? Which is why, our thoughts kind of been, I agree with you on the dealer model, and I think it's it's here to stay and it should stay. Don't get me wrong. There's just becomes, and I don't know how you guys deal with this, and maybe this isn't appropriate for the podcast to ask this. I don't even know, but
let's see what you ask.
Oh yeah. I guess. Do you need more buildings constantly to sell? I mean, when you take a look at how your sales managers are going out and vetting these properties, whether it be Graceland or whether it be any other company, big, small, or in between, it's like this shotgun, blast approach, or at least it has been for so long. Let's find 5 acres. They have a body shop, and next thing you know, because they're good business people, they hey, we make more money selling sheds than we did in body work where we went to school. So let's get into this because our why is that we're going to be like Steve Jobs at Apple. We're going to do a good job, doesn't matter what we sell. It's going to be like the CEO at John Deere, right? If we got out of selling tractors tomorrow, whatever we sold, we would take the same approach at Harley Davidson, at John Deere, at Buc-ee's, and who is that in the shed industry? I don't really know if any clear leader has said this is what I'm going to be, but I don't know. I'm inspired by the conversation we're having today.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an inventory play. So the problem isn't the model. I think you could probably sit here all day long and you could wax poetic about, should you just have, is the model where you have 20 buildings out not going to be able to be supported? Are you going to have to go completely online? Are you going to sell off of one bigger super lot? I think you can have, are you going to have your inventory displayed across 1,000 places but only have a few buildings? The problem is all that has to have a strategy behind it.
Yep.
When the muffler shop has 20 buildings, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. So you have a turns issue in most of this industry. So when you look at these companies, when I look at companies that are for sale, so I'm just giving you a look outside of Graceland where I've looked at other companies' profit and loss statements and their balance sheets. They are turning their inventory so extremely low that they are almost make you walk away as a buyer. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not supportive from a cash flow perspective. So anybody that gets into business learns really quickly that your profit and loss statement isn't key. Cash flow is. Cash flow is king in running any business. It can be profitable on paper, and you can have all your cash tied up, and you can't pay anyone.
Yep.
If you can't pay people, it doesn't matter that the thing that you have done is going to make money. Because if you are getting in a real serious business, you are going to be doing accrual-based accounting. And when you start doing accrual-based accounting, it doesn't work like your checkbook. And so when somebody hasn't been in accrual-based accounting and they've just ran their checkbook, and then they come over and they start running a real deal company, maybe your CPA puts you on an accrual-based QuickBooks account. If you don't understand how that works, you get yourself in trouble really, really quickly. Because in accrual-based accounting, they completely separate cash from the income statement. Cash and the income statement are separate. They just assume you've got the cash to do the things you're going to do.
Yeah. Right.
So if you had $1 million, you could go put all that $1 million into buildings that you just built. That doesn't hit your profit and loss statement. That $1 million of buildings goes onto your balance sheet. The $1 million is no longer in cash. It's in inventory.
Yep.
Now you go to sell it, and you sell the building. At the point you sell the building's cost releases. It's part of COGS. And when that building's cost releases, you're paying people. You paid people to build it. You paid people to do X, Y, and Z. All that takes cash that actually hits your P&L to pay the people, to pay the commission. Well, if you spent your $1 million putting it into inventory and you don't have the other $1 million to pay the people that are doing it, you can get into trouble. So let's say you start off healthy, and you are putting all this inventory out, and you've got enough cash there to manage your business, but then this plant's going to shut down if you don't give them more to work. And so you put a little extra inventory out, just a little bit more to keep that plant afloat. But then it doesn't match sales. But then you do it again, and then all of a sudden your turns are going from you're turning your inventory 3 times to 2 times to 1 time to a half time, and eventually you cannot cash flow your business. And the problem could be one of many. It could be sales. It could be the inventory.
Is that a educational problem with the dealers, a support problem with the dealers, or is it that we need to be doing the wholesale model more and not opening up so many dealer lots that are built on this consignment?
I think it's all three. So it's symptomatic in that. Why did they build the extra inventory, or did they even have enough cash getting generated? Because when you tie cash up, you got to release it. So anytime I see somebody in the shed industry doing 10% off, 20% off,
Yeah.
that would red flag for me a cash problem. Not always, but usually you're willing to sell that building and not even make any money at it to just get your cash back in play. They'll start selling assets. They'll start selling things. That's a symptom of
Trouble.
You know what's funny is that it's become like such a like cultural. It's almost like becomes the nature of these things, right? Mm-hmm. Because like it's exactly what you're saying. That is what you're doing. You're trying to release the cash, but it's almost like it's become so set in stone that this is the way things happen. It's like people almost take it for granted now, right? The 10 and 20% is now scheduled for October, November. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, practically you're releasing cash for operations over the winter for future investment for next selling season, right? But like, I don't know how much of it is being actively managed. You know what I mean? How much of it is purposeful? How much of it is truly a cash play? We need cash. And how much of it is, this is the time of year when you do this. Do you all keep, I'm just curious, you guys are also like metric oriented. Do you keep do you know if a shed is probably like 4 months old, right? It's probably like maybe a rough number. If a shed gets to 4 months old, the likelihood that it gets to 18 months old.
Yeah, we actually follow that. And it has a lot, usually it has more to do about where the dealer it's sitting at than it does what you actually built.
Right.
But that's in data's king. We did something called a data visibility project about 8 years ago. And we wanted to make sure that all of our data was very, very visible. We implemented Power BI, which is a Microsoft product, but basically at our fingertips right now, I could tell you any building, its gross margin, how long it's been sitting there, its age, and then we even start writing that down. So if that building goes over 2 years old, we're immediately starting a process of writing it down, saying that's a liability. Why can't we sell it? Did we build the wrong thing? Is it sitting at the wrong place?
Has it discolored? Is it growing moss on the north
companies
side?
don't do these things. This would be This would be a conservative approach to the inventory management. So that data is king. That's what brings me back to your question early on, is how we change the dealer model. And you were talking about, putting buildings out at the muffler shop. It's all about how many you put out. So the problem I don't see is all these different ideas that I hear people talk about. They all can work. You have to do the right amount of inventory at the right thing.
Yep.
You have companies out there just looking to deploy their inventory somewhere. These dealers shut down. I just got to take it somewhere, and you end up with hundreds of buildings. That's probably an exaggeration. 50 buildings at a location that certainly doesn't have the market cap to support that, and they're going to age. And are they writing them down when they age on their books? I can tell you that most people are not. They are just letting them sit there, and eventually they're discounting them. And that stuff can catch up with you, and it catches up with you in a saturated market. So a lot of what we're going to talk about with what we've done with our dealer model has been around all these things can work. So there's not right or wrong way to do it. There is, do you know why you're doing it? Do you know the strategy behind it? And does the inventory support it in such a way that you can cash flow your business?
When it comes to building something that lasts, every detail matters. At First Choice Metals, we proudly support the shed, carport, and pole barn industries with durable, high-quality steel roof panels, siding, and trim accessories built to perform and made to last. Every product we offer is American-made, with craftsmanship and finish you can see in every panel. More builders and homeowners are choosing metal roofing and siding for a reason. It offers superior durability, a longer lifespan, and improved energy efficiency compared to traditional materials. At First Choice Metals, our mission is simple. We provide exceptional products for your building projects and deliver service you can count on. Because being your metal building component supplier means more than just making a sale. It means being there every step of the way. First Choice Metals, built for strength, backed by service.
We talked about on this on the way out to Oklahoma about how we don't have I'm sure that there are probably RTO companies, it sounds like Graceland, frankly, are doing like these big data projects. But I was saying on the way out there, you should be judging your dealer based off of how well they perform against their market cap in their area, right? And you should probably even have that tiered to be like your actual local area. Then how well are you actually covering the digital space, into an expanded service area? But I don't even hear people talking about it. In fact, Greg, just now, is the first person I've heard say that, outside of me just being like, other industries base. Are we going to put a hardware store in? Well, it's like, how much hardware gets sold there, right? And this industry has always just sort of like followed the leader in a lot of ways. And if you're not making decisions and even performance decisions about that dealer, should that dealer be a 3% owner of effectively the approximate market cap in their area, or should that be 15? Is 15 what should be expected given competition? And I don't know that anybody's actually grading on that basis. Are you guys?
Yeah. I mean.
Oh, absolutely. So
go ahead.
So I'll give you an example. We have every Thursday we do a business development meeting, and if one of our regional sales managers out in the field is ready to present a potential dealer to come on with Graceland, they're going to present to us. Basically, it's a market cap presentation, and I'll talk about our structure later. But basically, that dealer, we're going to know the profile of the person coming on. Do they have sales experience? Have they sold in the shed industry before? Have they sold in the metal industry before? Have they sold in, have they done this, something tied into this industry? And then we turn around and we look at the traffic count. We look at the traffic count and say, okay, where is this located? We look at the competitive analysis. Where are the competitors located in that town? How many of those competitors are manned? What is the inventory that's being carried right now in that particular town?
Right.
Then we say on that, based on those metrics, what should a Graceland dealer be able to do? And so we might set that and say, okay, that dealer, we think we can sell in that town $500,000 of buildings a year.
Based on data. A
Based on data.
lot of people say that.
Right.
A lot of people arrive at looks like that, this town, this place, whatever, is 500,000. I think and it's not like we're sitting in conference rooms every day, but we have a lot of these conversations. Mm-hmm. And I'm not hearing that level of let's really build the picture out. What we hear a lot more is the sort of eye test of like this location and that guy add up to $500,000. Just kind of as a,
it's wishful. It's a wish. And we try to do more. Sometimes they don't work.
Yeah.
And so the question is, when they don't work out, what do you do? If you let them sit for 2 or 3 years, I can tell you that's a business that eventually is going to have problems because their turns are going to be driven down. So we look at that and we look at the person too. So we look at them and we say, what is their profile? Do they understand what it takes to be successful at selling sheds? Because it used to be, you got to place a pulse, and a place where to set these buildings, you can be a shed dealer. No cost to you. But that's not the way to evaluate anymore. Now the way to evaluate is, do you know the work it's going to take to respond to Facebook Marketplace, at night? Do you know? And then also, if it's, let's say you think they're going to sell $400,000 or $500,000 of buildings, this is the problem. That's not enough.
Yeah.
And this, especially at the kind of industry standard 10% that's out there, we'll talk about our commission program. That isn't enough anymore. They're going to sell metal. They're going to sell chicken coops. We let them sell other product lines if we're a supplier. We stick to what we do best and we farm out the rest. Mm-hmm. We let our dealers sell gazebos from other companies, chicken coops from other companies, metal from other companies. But we look at that and go, is their ecosystem of outdoor product sales going to let them support that business? And we try to make an educated decision. And we still have a high rate of folks that don't make it because it was more maybe work than, despite all of your investigation. And
have you run into that where you had like a dynamite salesperson and the market just wasn't there? What do you do like in that situation?
We've had less of that. We've had less of, what we've had more of is they give it the old college try for like 30 days.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't work in today's web sphere. You've got to get the algorithms trusting your business. You can't just stop.
Especially digitally. Like people are overlooking the power of digital. And that's where it becomes very complicated, is because you have to perfect two markets, the brick and mortar and the digital landscape. And
you do.
That's very hard. And it's a heavy lift, right? Initially, financially, there's a cost.
If you're reliant on that, the things that can like get the most immediate results, which is the Facebook, leads and things like that. Well, I mean, you've disrupted, that person wasn't looking for a shed. So like you're saying, if you're a college try type of person, I mean, we commonly in our conversations find those 35, 45, 60, 90-day pipelines, right? That person wasn't looking for a shed. Now you've put an idea in their head, like now it's percolating, now it's whatever. But like some of these pipelines from start to, I'm not saying you can't get your first sales, but from start to actually hitting what should be a normal turn, a normal capacity within that pipeline could take 120 days. And people are discouraged by the time that 120 day comes,
There's no get rich quick scheme. I think this industry is fabulous. I would encourage dealers that are excited about the dream of business ownership. I still don't think there's probably a better opportunity in the United States, if you want to get into something and you're willing to work hard, than to join one of these shed companies. If not Graceland, another one. It's a fabulous industry. So I'm focused on Graceland today because I'm the CEO of Graceland. So, but I would encourage, like, if there was a town and somebody said, I want to get in this shed industry. I mean, we have people, our become a dealer. I mean, we get so many people every day filling out on our webpage, become a dealer. And, we'll tell them there's other companies out there. When we say no, we'll say there's other companies out there. Go research them. We're not going to stop the people from going and doing what they're going to do. We just want to get the best vetted person that we possibly can.
And there is still tremendous opportunity to be whatever that, to your point, whatever that model looks like. There is still, there is an obvious gap between the consumer understanding or knowing or having brand awareness of Graceland. We could rattle off the rest. This is everybody. This is Tough Shed, and they're everywhere, right? So like there's huge opportunity to take that sort of branding approach, right? And that top of mind awareness, mostly disruptive. Of course, these are all like, I feel like we've landed in such a lead-based orientation on the marketing side that the companies are no longer, because you get the ROI. You can literally be like, it cost me $5. Where like, for the most part, the disruptive style of marketing, you can try to track attributions over long time scales, and I think that we're going to arrive at, in the next few years, AI has the potential to actually almost have like a graph score for each consumer, where it will actually approximate, well, actually 40% of the influence of this person's purchase decision comes from Instagram. But right now we're not there.
No.
So you can't put a dollar to it.
Full disclosure, I'm a behind the scenes person. I do not like to be out in front. It is not comfortable for me. I'm more of if nobody knew who I was in the whole world, except for my family and friends, I'd be totally okay with it. This is uncomfortable for me to even do a podcast. But you're talking about the changing ecosystem in AI. Part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast today, the reason why we're changing some of our marketing strategy is the way people search and find things now, because AI is going to drive so much of it. There's a piece of that has to be authority. And so here internally, we feel like, man, we actually have a lot of knowledge and authority in this industry that we sort of, honestly, we keep to ourselves.
Good time to be a little more present.
People love to,
digitally.
People love to spread rumors about Graceland. I've heard so many times we're closing, going bankrupt. One year was our most profitable year. It was the best year we'd ever had. We had people saying, we heard Graceland's closing. I'm like, oh, news to me. I think it's a lack of insiders in our business. We don't have a lot of
and data's the natural enemy. I was going to say this earlier, data's the natural enemy of creative types like myself. Because data's, I've said this on the podcast before, is when data says 1 + 1 = 2, my natural response is could be. Because the creative needs to allow for that opportunity. I'm not saying people are, it's very creative to come up with the idea that you're shutting down if you're, setting on, some of the discussions you've had today. But I think that's just a natural thing in business. Probably there's probably a mixture of ego. There's a mixture of it's just business. A thing doesn't have to be true. It has to be thought to be true.
That's right.
Misunderstood strategy. Graceland's closing down because their manufacturing facilities have consolidated, and they're not aware that there are hub locations.
There's no doubt. We went through a transition period there where early on our advanced manufacturing, we were originally doing that into new areas that we were going to go. But as some of our manufacturers decided to go do their own thing, it's like a tipping point, and everybody understands this. Early on, we were totally happy to continue on like we were, but we said to go into these new territories, we're going to do it differently. But the minute you start doing it differently, your core group thinks, it's just a matter of time before they change. And and do the same new model and take us out, we're going to get ahead of it and we're going to go ahead and make the first move.
Spin off. Yeah.
Once that starts, that snowball is hard to stop. And that is the downside of innovation. Our intentions didn't align with that. Our intentions were, as we go north, we're going to change our model a little bit because we want to be able to spread further. The minute we started dipping our toes into those areas, it gives sort of a hesitancy to everybody else.
Yeah.
And you actually cause, in some ways, an acceleration of a change that was probably going to happen at some point. But we talk about that changing sales environment. If I go back to like 2017, 2018, 2019, we had, a regional sales managers group, great group of people that had been here through the heyday when we were the only game in town, only one of 2 or 3 games in town. And as we started trying to introduce new things, guys, we got to get these people on Facebook pages, get them on Facebook Marketplace. We were being fought by our own team every step of the way. And I have the receipts for that.
Do you mean your internal team here or the dealer network or both?
Both.
Okay.
The regional sales managers, the dealer network. I've got our video team calls where I got the receipts of my dealers don't need to do that. My dealers can just informing us how this push that we're making towards everybody having Facebook. Every dealer needs a Facebook page.
Be present
Middle
where people are
management-
buying. Not crazy.
Middle management's tough. I've been there. Trust me. And whenever you're catching it from both the executive side and your dealer network.
Here's the kicker. Those same groups, now that some of them have their own companies, guess where they're at now?
Oh, yeah.
They're on Facebook Marketplace.
course.
They're on Facebook. All the things they resisted us on,
Of course.
they're out doing it. And and that's where change takes time. It takes necessity. In their mind, when my sales go down because of these changes, you'll have my attention.
Yeah.
Okay? When sales go down and things start going out, you'll have my attention. But right now, I don't need to do those things you're talking about because look how successful we are. Well, when you do it when things are going downhill, you've already waited too long from the very beginning.
People have a tendency to sell the way they buy because you only see your dynamic as a consumer and a salesperson as the way you see yourself as a consumer. Unfortunately, people decide to purchase different than you do. They and if you're not meeting them where that need is, and that's the whole digital push. I mean, it's really awesome to hire like a guy that everybody likes who's retired and sells $1 million or $2 million a year, and he can do it naturally because he's just in the community. But what happens when you take a 23-year-old out of college who's maybe lacking a little bit in their speaking disposition or whatever, but you know what they know how to do? They know how to get in front of people, and they're going to figure out the other part because they're young. But they know I need a website. I know I need to rank. I know that I need to have some automation funnels. I know that I need to run ads. I know how to do a lot of these things. If the company's not doing them for me, well, I mean, next thing you know, the company hires them, right? You see that happen a lot of times because they work their way into a job. And then the person who's like, well, I'm retired. I'm kind of on my way out. I don't need to learn these things. I've been successful. I mean, like you could have, I'm not going to say you will, but you could have a faster exit than you realize because you're not embracing the way that it's not that the way that the industry's changing, it's the way that society is changing and people are changing and the retail market is changing. Amazon put us all on Front Street, whenever they became successful. Like that changed everything digitally. I think that it's going to continue to go down that, and it's going to go down that road, and you've got to figure out how to merge those two ideas.
Introducing the Challenger, the revolutionary new shed mover that's taking the industry by storm. The Challenger features a touchless design, ensuring it only makes contact at the end of the skids and the bottom of the floor joists, so rest easy knowing your gable walls will remain pristine. Worried about reliability? Fear not, the Challenger is always up for the challenge and will not overturn or scuff your shed. Harness the power of innovative wireless technology. Remotely control the Challenger via your smartphone. No cell service needed. And guess what? The cell phone remote comes standard with every Challenger at no extra cost, featuring floating forks, a 4-directional tilting mast, and sliding weight transfer. Move the shed weight precisely where you need it to get ultimate traction. With self-loading capability, straight onto your truck, say goodbye to the need for a hydraulic carriage. The Challenger makes your job easy and more efficient. Choose from 2 machine sizes, 10,000 pounds and 15,000 pounds. Perfect for any job. Visit www.shedchallenger.com or email us at info@shedchallenger.com or call or text 828-220-3508 for more information. Experience the future of shed moving with the Challenger.
You do. And I think you're sitting on that merger of ideas is, I think people get caught up in what the right or wrong way is going to be. I think there is understanding the strategy you have and why you're implementing it. It's when you're going and doing something with hope, hopes and dreams, and I hope this works. Well, was it Vince Lombardi? Hope's not a strategy. You've got to have a little more behind that says, here's why we're doing what we do. And then when it doesn't work, you adapt, you change, you really work at, modifying that business. So we talked about inventory driving it. Inventory drives this industry because of the rent-to-own side. The rent-to-own side is setting the price in many ways. There's a depressed earnings on the manufacturing side because the rent-to-own drives down what should be a bigger margin on actually selling the building. The building's prices aren't set where they should be because the rental's so heavy.
Yep.
And I speak of that saying Graceland's a fully integrated company. We have our own rental company. We always have. We have to, if we go and set our market rate for the cost of a shed based on what Lowe's would want to earn or a Tractor Supply would want to earn or another type of company, you can't sell them for that. You can't sell them for that. You have to go make it on the other side. And so that other side, because it's competitive for the rent-to-own, that's a whole other conversation about some of the behaviors that occur there to go attain contracts and to get business. And so I think coming back to our sales side, I think that's where we've made the biggest amount of changes. And it was based on a few things. One was that changing ecosystem where your dealer had to have a higher acuity of salesmanship, closing skills, understanding technology to be really successful. And I think it's still hard.
Yeah.
It is harder. And when people say, oh, it's still easy, you just set it up, I feel like that's not true. Maybe we're just missing the boat, but we see it as a bigger struggle, a lot more required in terms of education to help somebody be successful than it may have been 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and 5 years
You're
ago.
attempting to teach people the basics of, technology in some areas and expecting them to be proficient in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. And that's not realistic either. So the education side becomes a factor. And I don't just mean product education, but I mean sales education. That was why we had talked about Shed University, some years ago. I'm super happy to see like Peter Miller and the guys that have done the Shed Sales Summit and the Making Sales Simple, trying to just peek your head out to get walloped by the industry of like, who are you to tell me how to sell? And it's like, I'm not saying I know it all. I'm saying I'm wanting to collaborate and sharing ideas and thoughts that educates the industry better. Where does that line up with the CEO of a particular company like Graceland? Well, why do I want everybody to be educated? Well, typically speaking, we're as good as our weakest link. So you still have an affinity for people just doing good business, having good business acumen in the industry, even your competitors. That's why people are like, why do you let your competitors come on the show? Why wouldn't I? Sure. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I let them compete? Well, what happens? I get this all the time. What happens if someone starts a podcast? Helps validate what we're doing. If I take that approach, as opposed to, I saved an article. So talking about competition, this is what I saw, and it was watching a NASCAR where they lost their tire and the tire just falls off. They pull up to another pit, and that pit takes care of their tire and gets them back on the road. And it says here, you can be a competitor and still have character. In the middle of a race, a car loses a tire coming out of the pits. Another team, his competition, jumps in to help, because real competitors don't just want to win. This is the key. They want to win against someone at their best. And I think that's the key is like, why do you collaborate even with competitors? Well, there needs to be some distinct features of like where we compete, but like, I want to beat you at my best. I don't want to beat you because of. I want to beat you at my best. And if I've done that, then I feel more accomplished as opposed to some level of manipulation or whatever. I want to win because I'm improving myself daily too. And I think I do whenever I, finally get a chance to talk with Greg on the podcast. That's why it's exciting to me I've talked to you several times, but it's cool here having this conversation that also does benefit the industry. Sure. So I'm sure you guys fall in line with some of those thoughts as far as competition goes as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I should want Graceland to be as healthy as it possibly can be. It was an adjustment for me in the shed industry because, the Fair Trade Commission comes out and they basically say, we want everybody to compete with one another. That creates a healthy consumer dynamic. And that's what I have cut my teeth on in business. That's how every other business I've ever worked in works. Your whole goal is to be the best and to, especially if you're in the same industry as somebody, you're up against them for RFPs. You're up against them for every business you get. If you're a supplier of something, you're trying to get them to choose your thing to supply. And you got these businesses and they can choose whether to use, sell your product or sell somebody else's product. The shed industry was a little unique to me in that there's everybody was acting like that's not how it works in the shed industry, which is illegal, by the way. You can't, hey, let's agree to not compete with each other over here. You actually can't do that. Right. But they kind of acted like everybody's, all in the same industry. But really, I saw this company spun off of that company and that company spun off of that company, and these people don't talk to each other anymore. It took me 10 years now to figure out all the relationships of they used to sell for Dirks and that person used this and they spun off. And now Graceland's got 5 or 6 spinoffs. I have zero ill will about that. Yeah. What we do have is the year 2026 with 2030 staring us in the face, coming fast, that we are concerned about how we're going to do business in the future, how we're going to sell in the future. And if we focus on us and being the best that we possibly can be, there'll be other people benefit from it. And if you're coming in and you're maybe even disrupting the industry in some way, the way you're going to do it, it will benefit others, and some people will fall by the wayside in that. But mostly it'll be because they didn't change and adapt to the industry and to the system. Mm-hmm. And so when a Graceland dealer has left and went somewhere else, or have changed what they were doing, we just look at ourselves and go, where did we fail in this? Where is it our offering? Was it our service level? Was it the education that we provided? What is it that we could have done differently? Or let's say that they went and now we're getting another supplier, or they just went just to sell metal alone, or who knows? There's a whole bevy of things that could have happened. We first self-reflect, and that doesn't mean that sometimes there's not enforcement of contracts or there's not other things that come into play, but mostly we look at ourselves in the mirror and we say, if it's going to begin with me, I have to look at myself in the mirror. Mm-hmm. I always use that saying, if it's going to be, it starts with me. Jacko Willelink's book, Extreme Ownership.
Great book.
We reference that a lot here. Is just, yes, we can go complain about it, but we probably should look in the mirror first on anything that goes wrong and start with what we could have done differently. And so that's what we did in the last 5 years with our dealer program, is we looked in the mirror and said, what does our dealer program need to look like post-COVID economy going out in 2040? And we did a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. 10-year plan is very high level. 5-year plan, still dreaming. 3-year plan really is about what can we execute and accomplish. And one of those things is we said, what do we want to be? Are we going to be one of these companies that shifts away from the dealer model? Are we going to lean into the dealer model? Are we going to be a hybrid? What are we going to do? Because people are buying different ways. Quit ignoring it. Quit pretending like there's nobody's going to buy something online. They're already doing it now. We're going to lean into it. And we said, so what does that look like? We're going to double down on our dealer model while also providing them all of the newest in technology for the future. So the first thing we did is we completely reorganized our internal support structure. So we took our service level from what may have been more like an industry thing where you call into maybe a pool of customer service people. In these bigger companies, you can't get a hold of somebody. You may or may not know the person you get a hold of. We redesigned the entire company. And now inside of our company, we have structured teams. We have a divisional vice president that's out in the field. We have a regional sales manager that's out in the field that knows the dealers. And then inside, they have a dedicated team of people. They have a dedicated business operations manager that can get things done for them. They have a dedicated sales leadership team lead that just works with them on sales, pushing the sales through. We have a dispatcher. We have that same team has direct lines to the plant, to the independent drivers. So all the dealers for Graceland, if they're active dealers really participating, they intimately know their team here at Graceland.
Right.
That's a big shift. And honestly, a lot of people who've joined us in the past, they've joined us because of that shift. Like, oh my gosh, you all offer so much support here. And you may have, maybe 10 years ago, you might not have said that. You'd have said, we just got to do it on our own.
And separating those roles like you have also inherently allows those individuals to have more autonomy or more leeway to make decisions, I would presume. That's the whole point of having those type of people is to say, okay, if you are the, I'm going to lose what you guys call it, the operations
manager,
operations manager,
manager.
For this area or whatever, allows them to get something done.
Yep.
That is so frequently the dealer level.
Yeah, it's an empowerment
that we hear,
so we
right?
empowered them to make decisions. They don't have to go through these hierarchies of people. And like we had a dealer that came to us from a competitor a couple of years ago, and they had told us the support level was one of the reasons they had switched suppliers because they were told, don't call into the office and bother the ladies there. And this is a big company. Like, hey, don't bother them if you can help it. Like we're saying, bother us.
Yeah.
We have real-time chat for our dealers. If they're having trouble with the sales order, they can chat with us immediately. They can call in here and get help. We can take over their machine. We redid our sales order to make it more user-friendly for all of the dealers. But then we made huge investments in our education. We started Graceland University. We have an online learning management system for dealers with all the trainings. We have, marketing level 1, marketing level 2, marketing level 3. If you walk in a Graceland dealer's office, they're going to have their level 1 certification, level 2 certification. They've went through all these trainings because we're trying to help them be successful business. I teach a class on running your business to all the dealers. How to run a business, how to run a profit and loss statement, how to manage money, how to manage cash flow. We brought in third-party financial analysts to help them with their business.
Yeah, that's great.
Then we went and we invested in dealer engagement. So we hired a full-time dealer engagement and training team that their whole job is to make sure dealers are engaged in the business, that they're successful, and to give them the training that they need. We put on monthly and weekly trainings for our dealers. I will often be a guest on those. We have $1 million mentors where our $1 million dealers teach other dealers how to be successful. I mean, we've got so many things that I think if people knew what we had here, they would be salivating to be a part of it. That's what I believe, as I should. I keep qualifying that because I want people that watch us to know we should be proud.
Yeah.
We are proud and we should be proud.
That's right.
Well, you're doing a good job and it shows.
And you should be proud of whatever you're doing, but I'm proud of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We have a dealer engagement team. We have an entire dedicated lead management team. So that lead management team not only helps them set up their own CRM, but we also farm all of our leads out to those dealers. If the dealer is not there, they can't close it. We will even close the lead to them. 100% of the commission still goes to the dealer. We provide all those services for our dealers. Number 2, we've invested in an entire online program. I've got 3 new developers that just started with Graceland to be able to sell online. We are doing a commission share with all of our dealers. If we sell that building, if let's say somebody buys purely online and they sell that building within we have a targeted range of that dealer's normal course of business. If they're a participating dealer, which means they're actively engaged with Graceland, and a building gets sold through them, commission share to them.
Nice.
So we're trying to do this in a way that we say we're going to try to sell through every avenue, in every way, but we need our dealer network to be healthy.
Yep.
The other thing I'm really excited about is that we just signed a contract with a company that it's a software company that we are buying. I can't say the name of it yet, but basically it is a 100% marketing platform for dealers where not only will our dealers have their own web pages with inventory, but they're going to have their own dedicated CRM. We invested in the API configuration so that we can auto post to Facebook, Instagram, Facebook Marketplace. We utilize a ton of AI in it to help generate different type of marketplace ads for them so they have a lot of variety and they don't get flagged for using the same thing over and over. It does almost all of it for the dealer.
Wow.
It's kind of, I can't think of a better word right now. It's a little bit dummy proof in that you don't have to know a lot to do a lot. And so if somebody comes to be part of Graceland, you get all these tools. We don't charge you for any of those tools. We don't, we provide marketing programs, marketing co-op. We don't charge our dealers for their banners. We don't charge our dealers for, we give up to so many $100 a month to co-op with them on their marketing. We're doing all this to say we want to be the most attractive place for a dealer to want to do business with. And so the Graceland you may have known 10 years ago or 15 years ago or even 5 years ago isn't the Graceland of today. We're very current. And so we've kind of kept that secret, I guess is the point I'm making is from the outside, you may not notice that. If you were here internally and spent much time, you're going to see things are shifting very rapidly. We invested in a 3D configurator that isn't just for configuring the buildings, but that building in real time creates a saw file that goes to our saws and builds that thing to spec and marks everything on it. We got the ability to customize windows and door placements. We got the ability to lean into the accessory dwelling unit and R2 residential space. We've got a lot going on for the future, and a lot of it's not even deployed yet. That's going to get deployed in the next 12 months. And on top of that, we're entering into an acquisition phase. So we are looking at potential acquisitions of other companies. And I referenced this earlier that we believe that the market's saturated, that there will be people who want to sell their businesses. And if they do, they should call me. And the worst you get out of it is that you had somebody evaluate your profit and loss and balance sheet and had a good conversation about it. That's the worst case scenario of letting somebody else take a look at selling it. There's usually a long tail on people deciding to sell their business because at first they really don't know what it's worth. They typically overinflate what they think it's worth. Nobody wants to buy it. Then they later come back. But we got market data on that. But there's it all depends on the company, the overlay, but we're open to those things as well. So part of coming on here today was just making sure that people know who I am. So we've had that before.
We've had that luck before where some of the CEOs have come on or different people have come on in the industry that are interested in acquisitions, and I mean, I've gotten those phone calls. It's like, hey, this guy called me because I did a podcast, and next thing you know, we bought their company, and I'm like, well, hey, it's good to know that we're adding some value in the industry out there with this free platform where you can just call in and listen to it or whatever. I like that you're more front and center. I know you. I've had a couple breakfasts with you. I know that you like tomatoes with cottage cheese. And Cord has now picked this up and he's running with it. He's eating this. But it's one of those things where it's like I get to know like some of the cool parts that the industry doesn't get to see. So I'm especially thankful that you came on today to talk about it. And any way that we can help or spread information, spread communication, education. We've been calling ourselves infotainment a lot here lately, edutainment. We're trying to play with the different words of like, I just think there's a place for people to come and talk about what's happening in the industry in real time. And I'm happy that you're here doing this because
Well, I'm excited to be
I've
here.
liked you. I've liked you in the conversations that we've had for a long time. We just haven't got to put a microphone.
I told my
by
wife
it.
last night, hey, Shannon Latham, I just refer you to as the Shed Geek. That's my wife. But, Shannon has asked me over the years to, you're trying to fill your spots, get people on your shit. And I've always said, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'll think about it, little emoji,
Yeah.
But I'm happy to be on here. And again, I think I've tried to be transparent today. We're trying to get a little more out front and center.
Yeah.
Do more of these types of things so that people know a little more about Graceland. And I think of any better way than to be on the Shed Geek podcast. You're the OG.
The OG. Hello, shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime. I'll tell you what,
Podcast.
it's come full circle, starting here, it has allowed me the ability to come back and sit right here in the very room where I was interviewed, 14, 15 years ago and kind of start to my shed journey, and I don't know. I think Graceland holds a special spot, obviously for me. And I mean, go to church with Jonathan. He's a childhood friend of ours, he's associate pastor there. I mean, Burtis, I know Burtis has passed since then, but he was, I went on a couple of men's Christian missions with him down in Nashville with a bunch of guys from the church. And we had some of the car time where we got to sit together, and Graceland's just always been just excellent out at the different bashes and Oklahoma barbecue, seeing the guys out there.
We've been blessed to have really great people since the beginning, and they're still really great people. Some of them aren't no longer part of Graceland, but they played a big role in Graceland being the company it is today. And I think we're all in a challenging environment. I think that was kind of my point today was I can come on here and I could put the other hat on and say it's all sunshine and rainbows. I think it's tough.
A lot
I think
of
it's a tough
challenges.
market for them, and I think that's why they need to be on these podcasts and be listening in and making changes, and also, preparing for the future. But I think we still believe in God's divine providence in our lives. That at the end of the day, we're trying to, I think about the livelihoods of every single person that touches the Graceland sphere, and I feel a sense of responsibility for them in terms of what we do. And so my first responsibility to God and my family, but it's to this organization, and then it's to the industry, then it's to the greater good,
Right.
As it should be for others.
an unhealthy Graceland, a Graceland that's not growing and prospering. I'm not sitting here.
Yep.
Every business has a life cycle. It's knowing in your business's life cycle, when have I reached the end of it? And do I have the energy to do the thing it's going to take to do it the next? So many businesses get sold because, hey, I see the way that it's going. I just don't want to do it.
Right.
I don't want to do that part of it. I want it to be the way it used to be. And I've come to this realization it's not. So I appreciate you having me on here. And I'm happy to join again sometime. I'm definitely way more technical in terms of what I like to talk about. I enjoy the business side of what makes it go, what makes it run, and what makes people tick.
But it takes that vision, it takes that intentionality. People have been saying, Greg, he wears black mock neck, long sleeve shirts. His hair's getting a little gray. I've heard talk of the Steve Jobs of the shed industry. People are saying it.
I do not believe anything you've said. Well, I usually wear a jacket at work, so I know you're pulling my leg.
Sounds like a couple guys that eat cottage cheese, if you ask me.
But what I'll close with saying, the shed industry is awesome.
Yeah,
it is.
It's got great people and some great companies, but you better be willing to compete in the market. It's not going to be easy. You need to get out there and compete, and you need to know your business. You need to know your numbers. You need to know your data, and you got to be forthright with your investors that are behind that, because you don't want to surprise them, because it can come a big crash.
Yeah. Yep. Man, what a great just episode in general. Any final thoughts? I mean, I feel like you wrapped it up there clean. Anything else that you want? Any shout outs? Anything that you just
a shout out to my family, to my wife, who 10 years ago, I told my family, I kind of had a job there that everybody knows, that company where I was at. Everybody knew me in the community. I guess you would say I was, in some ways, a public figure. I had been in the school systems. And we had a lot of connections. And I came to my family, I came to my wife and said, man, this company out in Western Kentucky, I've met their board of directors. The way that I met them was kind of Christ-centered in itself through the Commonwealth Policy Center, and they're looking for a CEO. I feel like I'm a fit for it. I don't know whether they'll choose me, but I'd like to go to an interview. And my wife gave me that blessing, which was a big change for her. She was getting ready to be a professor at the University of Kentucky. She had her own career, her own life. We have 3 beautiful kids, and my son's getting ready to go be a in the worship ministry. I've got a daughter at the University of Kentucky. I've got a 12-year-old daughter that's in the horses. But they supported me. But I remember the day that I accepted the job, and only my wife and I know. And I sat my teenage daughter down. She was just turning 13, 12. And I said, hey, we're going to move. I gave the big talk about things changing in your life. You've had a lot of consistency, but that sometimes parents have to do what's best for the family, to follow what's best. It's not just career driven. It's about our life, our family. And we feel like that God's leading me to accept this job, and that I've accepted it. And my daughter at the time said, and I've told this story a lot, what's so bad about your life that you want to ruin mine? And that was really hard, and it made me second guess the decision.
That's tough for a dad.
Like in that moment. And I always say I always lean on Proverbs and like talk about trust. Don't lean on my own understanding. And I told my daughter that day. I've heard Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6, trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. And we moved here, and she told me, I would rather live in a ditch where I came from than the nicest house around here. And it took that time, and so you're coming somewhere new, you're super excited about it, but maybe your family isn't following. And I will just say that when you follow the providential steps that God puts in front of you, that I've looked at that 10 years later and see a happy and healthy daughter that has a wonderful friend network and support network. I see myself and my family with a fantastic church, a church where my son was able to let his musical ability shine, and now he's going to college for music ministry. I've got well-adjusted, daughter who's got a pastime that she may not have got where we lived before. And you just look at that and you almost stand amazed that when we submit ourselves and submit our control to the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace, that we will make the right steps. And I still got to compete in business because God, He protects us in our steps. But I don't know that He's showing favoritism out there. He doesn't get involved. He's not a puppet master of our lives. We still have to run things well, make good decisions and wise decisions in business. And that's what I hope to do for Graceland.
He doesn't always give you the bench; he gives you the tree.
That's right.
You know, and I'm gonna share this story real quick. We're gonna go, and I promise not to one up your beautiful story there, but Graceland, and not just Graceland, but even the shed industry in general, means so much to me because we were coming down here and we went through. I'm struggling to
Lovelessville.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is like when I called Jonathan looking for that job, whenever I'd left the casino, I just felt my life was in a mess. You know, I didn't feel good in my career. I didn't feel good in anything. And I landed here in this very room where I interviewed with Curtis Creason and Bruce Morris. And still, man, I still love Curtis so much. He doesn't even realize the impact he had in my life during that precious year to spend here with Heidi and Russ and in the office over here. And it was just a great time. But I remember it wasn't quite your story as far as like finding my home. You know, as a CEO, especially, you wouldn't have wanted that, nor would you now. But I pulled over in Lovelessville, the little gas station that sits right there when you turn right on 305, and I cried my eyes out. Like, you guys don't know that, because I was so happy to get that job that day because I felt so lost, and I was starting to feel this call to ministry and to God. And I did ultimately worked in faith-based drug and alcohol ministry. Same Lovelessville place now owns a big ranch out there where you guys actually send people there to do work. You don't know how God's working in all of these different mysterious ways. Me and Cord even stopped by and got to see some of those guys and talk to them. And Cord told me a beautiful story about selling a tractor on the way down here whenever he was working. And he said, this Lovelessville place has a special place in my heart. It's where I sold my first big tractor growing up as a farmer.
Yeah, right.
You know, and so we all kind of share that. And I don't want to one up your beautiful story. I think it was awesome, but man, it meant the world to me because I cried all the way home. Because I was like, not only did I find a home, but I just felt so lost, and I really needed people around me who were going to speak into my life and speak good things. And Graceland did that. The employees here did that, right? And it led me on this path where 15 years later, I'm back here in the same room interviewing. You can't write a story like that if you were just a fiction writer. Like, no, the truth truly is more unusual than fiction, and it's been a great opportunity to know you, know the company, know the industry. I love what you guys are doing. I always enjoy breakfast. And you know what? I hope to be a bigger part of your story and Graceland's story, you know, where we find areas that we connect to move each other forward and the industry forward. I do want to ask a very brave thing because I didn't propose this in the beginning, but I know that you're a person of faith, and we always believe in wanting to keep prayer front and center here. I always fear the outside influence of not talking about your faith. And part of that is the imperfection in who we are, you know. And so I'm not pretending to be perfect. I'm not here pretending to be all the things to all people, but God has put me on this unusual journey that led back to this moment even. Do you care to pray? Like just over the industry in general? Because it would mean a lot to us. So
let's go into prayer. God, we just thank you for your divine providence in our lives. And mostly, God, we ask you to just not only bless our families and everybody's family in this industry, but God, just put prayers over the people in this industry, their families, their businesses, their livelihoods. God, that you just continue to put a path in front of us that we can follow, Lord. We thank you so much for your Son and for your providence again in our lives. We submit all these things to you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com, or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you, and have a blessed day.